The Beach Boys with their cover of the old Harold Dorman song, Mountain of Love, from the 1965 Beach Boys Party album. I shouldn't have called that an old song. It had only been around for 5 years when the boys recorded their version. The Beach Boys Party album is a fascinating record for a number of reasons. For one, it wasn't actually recorded live at a Beach Boys party, despite what the album cover tells us. It was, in fact, the culmination of several loose and playful sessions in the studio with party sound effects dubbed on top of them. Here to discuss this album and the new 2-CD archival release, The Beach Boys Party Uncovered and Unplugged, is a guest we always love to have join us. In fact, he's becoming something of a permanent fixture around here. Endless Summer Quarterly's David Beard.
God help us all.
No, we have a lot of listeners who look forward to these discussions. You know, I feel that this album, the original party album from 1965, is wrongfully maligned by a lot of hardcore Beach Boys fans. I mean, if you want to find out who these guys are, what music they like to play, and what great musicians they were, you really can't beat this record. I know that Pet Sounds would be the next album, and some people see this record as a step backwards. I don't. I think of it more as a step sideways.
Yeah, it was kind of a contractual obligation.
Right.
The record company was wanting another product from them, an album product, and Brian needed more time to work on whatever it was he was recording. He didn't know it would be Pet Sounds at this time, so we have to keep that in mind. So he just knew he wanted more time to work on recordings in the studio, and he needed to buy himself more time.
Right, and when you think about it, it's a brilliant solution to a problem. Capitol Records wants a new Beach Boys album. They don't have one ready, so they just go in the studio and record this and put it out as the Beach Boys Party album. So the concept alone is so brilliant, I can't think of it as a step backwards.
Yeah, this is not a true studio album,
right?
In the sense that they were writing new material and recording new material. The Party album in '65, as it was released, it begot the number one hit, Barbara Ann. Right. And it was just them hanging out in the studio with Dean Torrance from Jan and Dean, which I'll get to, which was a fascinating discovery I'll get to when we get to that point in talking about those sessions. But the first thing I want to touch on, the released Beach Boys Party album doesn't have any picture of Bruce anywhere on it, so you don't get the sense that he's even involved. And this new release, Uncovered and Unplugged, is really fantastic in that you get to hear Bruce in the studio with the guys kind of talking and hanging out and playing, and I think that's really important to their history. The Beach Boys always did cover songs very well. Do You Want to Dance is a great example of that. That's nothing new. But to have them in the studio, jamming, hanging out together without these party overdubs, and we should explain to the listeners what the party overdubs were. When you listen to the released Party album, there was additional talking and chatter that was put on the album by Brian to make it sound more like a get-together with friends and family, and so that when they went from one track to the other, you would have kind of a segueing element on top of it to make it sound seamless.
And it works.
And it does. It works very well. And in what we found in this new release, which I have to say, if I don't, I'll say it several times. You have to get it. You really do. It's if it's not something you've bought by now. If you want to digitally download it, fine, but get it.
Yeah, and get a physical copy, folks.
Yeah. Next to the Smile Sessions box set and the Pet Sound Sessions box set, if you want something important in the Beach Boys catalog, and even though, again, this is just them jamming, this is it. If you just listen to this, just put it on and listen to it. It's such a wonderful fly-on-the-wall Beach Boy hang that nothing surpasses this in that regard. Because the thing that we like, or I can't speak for you, but when I listen to the Pet Sound Sessions, you're listening to Brian direct the band and hearing him in control in the studio and getting what he wants out of the musicians in the group. Or when it comes to the Smile Sessions box set, you hear the the banter and the bits and pieces and how Brian is directing there, but also how the group is interacting with him, because Smile has its own story and history. But with the Party album, Unplugged and Uncovered, you're hearing a group that is on top of their game, and it's just so cool to listen to it.
We're talking with David Beard of Endless Summer Quarterly magazine about the original 1965 album, The Beach Boys Party, and the new collection, The Beach Boys Party Uncovered and Unplugged. Taking a look at the track listing from the original album, we've got Hully Gully, I Should Have Known Better, Tell Me Why, Papa Mau Mau, Mountain of Love, You've Got to Hide Your Love Away, Devoted to You, Alley Oop, There's No Other Like My Baby, a goofy medley of I Get Around and Little Deuce Coupe, The Times They Are A-Changin', and of course the Beach Boys cover of Barbara Ann. What jumps out to me, the three Beatles covers, and the majority of these songs would have been relatively new when the Beach Boys got around to jamming on them. And when you listen to the Uncovered and Unplugged CDs, there's a moment here where the group are jamming on the fade to Ticket to Ride, and it sounds a heck of a lot like what would become the basis for the Beach Boys' own Sloop John B.
Yeah, there's at least 3 to 4 other situations where they're getting ready to do Papa Mau Mau, and it sounds like something else. And there's The Times They Are Changing, or Heart and Soul sounds like It's really interesting that one guy will just kind of randomly break into playing something, and it sounds like something else, and you're like, oh, they're going to play this.
Right.
And then it turns out to be something completely different. What I gleaned from that was how all the groups, the Beatles, the Beach Boys, Bob Dylan, you name it, were all gleaning musical feels from one another that were ending up in different recordings. You know, Gary Griffin, I may have told you this before in a different conversation, Gary Griffin was the one who told me years ago, and it has stayed with me. He said, there was a time, and he was specifically talking about 1965. He said 65 was like his favorite year in music, because you would wake up every day, and it's not just every other day or every week, this was every day. You would turn on the radio, and you would hear something brand new. And like you, when I'm hearing these pieces of music that sound like something else, that I go, I didn't realize that chord was the same, because I thought they were going to play this song, but instead they're playing that song. Obviously, everybody gleaned, and a lot of it we historically know because the artist has pretty much fessed up and said, oh yeah, we got, like Paul McCartney has said, oh yeah, after I heard Pet Sounds, I incorporated that into Here, There, and Everywhere and For No One, using the style of bass that I got from the way that Brian was using the bass in Pet Sounds. But here we really get a sense of music in 1965 and how they were incorporated into other things that they were doing and working on.
One of the revelations for me listening to this is just how much in charge Carl is. Yeah.
The Party album was always produced by Brian Wilson, and it even says it on this release. The Uncovered and Unplugged version, it says produced by Brian. But that was one of the first things I picked up on. This is more like a group production, because they're all there, they're all interacting, and the revelatory thing to me was the story is that Dean kind of happened in during Barbara Ann, and or suggested Barbara Ann. And here we learn at the 5th of 5 different sessions, Dean's there the whole time.
Right.
And they're doing You've Got to Hide Your Love Away, The Times They Are A-Changing, Heart and Soul, Long Tall Sally, The Boy from New York City, Smokey Joe's Cafe, and then they end up with Barbara Ann. So Dean's there the whole time. It gives me a different appreciation for the session.
Okay. Here we go.
That was a beautiful rendition of Bob Dylan's Blowin' in the Wind, sung by Al Jardine, one of, 65 or 70 or so unreleased songs on this Beach Boys Party Uncovered and Unplugged CD. Our guest is David Beard, editor of Endless Summer Quarterly magazine, and I had asked David to pick out a favorite cut to talk about. I've picked out mine. I'm going to go first here. I think it's Devoted to You. Now, this actually has come out before on the Hawthorne, California compilation.
Yeah.
But this is a song that has resonated more with me ever since I read Jim Murphy's Becoming the Beach Boys book. Because in that book, he tells the story of Brian having sleepovers over at Mike's house and how the two of them would be in Mike's room listening to the radio. And Mike's father would say, okay, guys, you got to turn it down. And Brian and Mike would sneak out to Mike's car and sit in the car so they could keep listening to the radio and discovering all these new sounds. And here you have Brian and Mike duetting on an Everly Brothers number, and even though I wasn't there, it sort of reminds me of that scenario.
Yeah. If you had Brian and Mike in a room right now, they had time to themselves, and, you know, the mood struck them, Devoted to You would probably happen. And I wouldn't be surprised if Mike would tear up and start to cry. Quite honestly, and I think it holds that emotional connection still to this day. You know, it was one of those things that even in 1967, a Mike and Brian single was released, Getting Hungry from Smiley Smile, with the B-side being Devoted to You from the Party album.
Right, right.
So this is an important track. I like that you picked up on that. I think for me, the favorite thing is what I've already touched on. Being able to just sit and listen to this, hearing the Beach Boys in 1965. That's my favorite thing. I think my favorite part on the whole collection is when Carl is just cracking up and they're having fun. It's the spot where I'm going, oh, I wish I was there.
Yes.
Because I wish I could have seen what I'm hearing. That's how good this is. It makes you want more. Thank God Mark Lynette wanted to do this, because this is just like, I just can't say enough about it. This is just like the fly-on-the-wall experience that I personally just can't get enough of, and my favorite thing is just getting to listen to it.
Oh my. Pretty funny.
Just beautiful. All right, David, time for the Beach Boys Endless Summer Quarterly news segment of our conversation. I understand that we have some new Christmas music from at least two of the Beach Boys.
Yeah, Mike Love, the group Phoenix, that I know nothing about other than that they're a four-piece band, approached Mike, or I don't know who they approached first or how they got to Mike, but they were connected to Mike somehow, about the song Alone on Christmas Day, which was a previously unreleased Beach Boys recording from the aborted Merry Christmas from the Beach Boys second Christmas album from '77. And by being contacted, he was inspired to record it himself and title it You'll Never Be Alone on Christmas Day. He recorded everything new. It's with his current band, who do the vocals, and I think Michael Lloyd, who's, people may know his name, he's a multi-Grammy award winner producer. He did the Dirty Dancing soundtrack.
Right.
He produces this new cut, and I think he plays the majority of the instruments. The group members themselves that tour with Mike and Bruce, Mike's on this, Bruce is on this, Brian Eichenberger, Scott Totten, Jeff Foskett, John Cowsill, they're all on this with Mike. But this dates back to '77, and originally Mike had worked on the song with Ron Altbach, who, depending on the depth of what your listeners know, he toured with the group, the Beach Boys, for many years in the '70s, and helped Al Jardine co-write Lady Linda. So this is a pretty interesting song, and I don't know if anyone has Netflix, please be sure. I'm a huge Bill Murray fan, so I have to recommend this.
Right.
The connection here is the band Phoenix is in the Bill Murray Christmas special on Netflix, exclusively on Netflix. It's called A Very Murray Christmas. And they do a great job in performing it. So I like both versions. Both versions have their thing. But as a Bill Murray fan, I really like seeing Bill involved in a musical number like that. But it also speaks to the reach of the Beach Boys magic, and and what how they've affected us musically, that a group like Phoenix would just randomly choose and I don't know how random it was, but they would be drawn to this unreleased recording and request to do it. It is pretty unique and special. The other Christmas song is by Al Jardine. Well, it features Al Jardine. It's written by Scott Bennett, and Scott Bennett is quite a musical guy himself. I mean, he co-wrote the Like and I Love You and Nothing But Love on the Gershwin album with Brian Wilson. So if your name is in the category of Wilson, Gershwin, Bennett, you're doing pretty good. Scott Bennett also co-wrote most of the material from that Lucky Old Son from 2008, Brian's solo album. So Scott, is quite a gifted songwriter, and he and his friend Billy Roach co-wrote "Beach with Ya Baby," and that ended up being a Billy Roach single where Al guested as a vocalist. So then I guess the favor was returned or something, but it's Hurry Up, Santa Claus is this new Al Christmas single that I think is exclusively through CD Baby. Yeah. And you get the artwork for the single, and then you also get the track notes, who wrote what and how the single came to be. And this is kind of like, similar to Mike's thing. They just do this on the road when time permits. And this was done kind of the same way. Al sounds fantastic. It's a fun recording. So you got Mike's recording of You'll Never Be Alone on Christmas Day. You've got, this is important to mention. I'm glad I realized this. On Record Store Day, two things happened. And I know we're getting a little off track here, but I want to talk about this.
Sure.
Two things happened. Love and Mercy came out on blue vinyl, which is pretty cool and collectible. But also on Record Store Day, there is a 45 vinyl picture sleeve of the Phoenix recording of Alone on Christmas Day with Bill Murray, and he's on the picture sleeve, and that's a Record Store Day, and all the proceeds of the Phoenix version are going to UNICEF. Now, Al, with his single, just go to Al's Facebook page, I think, would be the easiest way. Al's got a GoFundMe page set up on that website. You get the single, and by helping fund this project, it's to help kids with cancer. I think the goal is, based on the message, he has a personal message that he has on that GoFundMe page with a picture of him holding a Stratocaster that he's signing, and there's going to be 20 CDs that he's signing. I imagine it's a postcard from California CD, but I'm not sure. Somebody will be chosen to get the autographed Stratocaster, and then there'll be 20 people chosen to get the autographed CDs. And then I think once the money has been gathered, based on the message that I'll write on that page, that he will then choose one single children's cancer charity. So it could be St. Jude's, it could be, who knows, but it'll be something to help children with cancer.
And we've also got some new music from David Marks coming out.
Yeah, it's going to be an album of David going back and revisiting his early Beach Boys and Dave and the Marksmen roots. And who knows, maybe we'll end up getting, similarly to the Party album, maybe we'll end up getting a couple of just his favorite songs of the era, thrown in for good measure. He's such a great jazz, surf, blues guitarist.
Yeah.
That I'm pretty excited about the potential of this, because just the title of the album, Back to the Garage, suggests an approach that is just rudimentary and a little bit more, hopefully, organic, and not so much trying to be perfect or anything like
right,
that.
Or
more
contemporary
of a jam.
popper, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on in Beach Boys world this Christmas. And, of course, there's always a lot going on with Endless Summer Quarterly. And I know that we spoke last time about the Andy Paley article that's coming in the latest issue. Any last-minute additions on the latest issue?
Well, we ran out of space. And so some of what I'm working on is actually going to end up on Beach Boys Examiner, or it'll be between Beach Boys Examiner and just posted on Endless Summer Quarterly's Facebook page. I had a great interview with Dr. Barbara Van, I hope I say her last name correctly, Barbara Van Dahlen, and I'm sure I'm saying that incorrectly. It's Dahlen, and she's a terrific lady, and she's overseeing the campaign to change direction, which is a new campaign that is kind of being spearheaded by Barbara and Melinda and Brian Wilson to bring awareness to mental illness and, the people from the Love and Mercy film, director Bill Pohlad, the actors, John Cusack, Paul Dano, have gotten behind this and become a part of it and advocates to help those who suffer from mental illness, like Brian. One of the things that Barbara touched on when we talked yesterday, she said that, we all have our mental issues. We're all individuals, and we all struggle with certain things and aspects of our lives. It is a challenge sometimes to recognize those who struggle in ways that are harder for them in navigating through life.
Right.
So it's something that I certainly want to bring attention to and help Brian and Melinda Wilson in bringing attention to. That's something that listeners and fans of the Beach Boys should be very aware of, or anybody who saw the film Love and Mercy. If they did, then they are aware that Brian came from a very dysfunctional situation, and I'm sure his father, Murray Wilson, struggled with mental illness too because of the way it affected and played itself out in Brian and Dennis and Carl Wilson's lives. So it's a pretty serious thing. But you see the beautiful thing that you and I and all the Beach Boy fans out there get to appreciate is Brian was trying to and has for many years successfully navigated his mental illness with music being the salve and the balm for his struggles. And by doing that, he's helped us.
So if anyone wants to find out more about what we're talking about, David and I, the best place to go is really the Facebook page for Endless Summer Quarterly, because that's where you'll find all the subscription information. People might be saying, well, what about this Examiner, Beach Boys Examiner? Those articles also are linked to on the Endless Summer Quarterly page.
Well, there's a banner now. I mean, if you were to go to the ESQ site, which is esquarterly.com, we've changed some things on the landing page where the jukebox is. You get there and you jukebox, the music starts playing. And if you look just above the jukebox, there's 3 links. ESQ's Facebook page, Bellagio, which is Andrew Doe's minutia site that tells you about shows and sessions and a lot of the stuff that the Beach Boys did through the years. That's a great site. And then above that now, in red text on the top board, is 1-year subscription. That'll take you right to the page to subscribe. Long story short, I just felt like we weren't really doing our due diligence to make it easy. So all you have to do is go to esquarterly.com, take you to the landing page, you'll get to hear music, and you'll see right above the jukebox the different links, the little signposts. You click on them, it'll take you right to those links, and everything's easy. Also, get ready. Because, and I'm telling your listeners, buckle up, because next year is 2016, and the 50th anniversary of Pet Sounds and Good Vibrations are right around the bend, and you can bet that those are going to be big deals. And we should mention, Brian Wilson and Mike Love both have books scheduled for next year, and Mike even has a solo album scheduled for next year. So, all good stuff.
All right, David, thanks so much. Merry Christmas, and have a great rest of your day.
Take care. Thank you.